Hey guys, this is RacerX Senior Editor Jeff Kosen. I'm here to welcome you to a new show we've got here on the network. It's called the Moto Marketing Podcast. It's a new show from Luke Nestler and George Ceci of Impact Marketing. They work really closely with Lucas Oil Pro Motocross as well as us here at the magazine. And on the show, they'll be talking about iconic moto companies and riders and how they've developed their own brands through the years. It's an interesting take on the sport. It's probably something you haven't heard a whole lot about. So if you happen to have a business of your own, or if you're looking for tips on how to attract more sponsors, I think you'll find a lot of helpful stuff here. Check it out, the Moto Marketing Podcast, only here on the RacerX Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
I am sitting here in Tim Cotter's office, which is actually MX Sports, which is across the big building, the mothership from RacerX. And joining me is my longtime friend, Luke Nestler of Impact Media. And he's here to talk about a new podcast that's joining the RacerX podcast family. It's called the Moto Marketing Podcast. And it's sort of just a roundtable discussion with various people in the industry about how to market themselves. How does social media work to benefit your brand? How can you sell more product? How can you sort of strategize what you're going to do with your ad budget? Or, how do you basically get the right message out about your brand? Luke, welcome, and
thanks, man.
How's the BMXing going?
Yeah, so it's going well. It's I tell you what, it keeps you in shape. I mean, running a business, it's easy to fall out of shape. So I got back into BMX, and it's kept me healthy, happy, and having fun with it.
And you did the E-Mountain Bike race?
I did the EMTB race. It's the John Penton round, and hands down one of the most fun events I've done. And it's also insane to see some of so Charlie Mullins is just a freak show on a bicycle. Right. I think he lapped me 3 times. So Tim Cotter's supposed to do one of those rounds as well. I'm looking forward to being part of that.
As busy as Tim is, the only way he could do one of those rounds is if the round followed him.
Yes.
So he could go touch every base as the mayor of whatever event he's at. He's fun to watch. And having just come back from Pala recently, he would be ready for a mountain bike race now because I think he put in a dozen miles a day. I did it one day.
Yeah.
I think he did it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the MX Sports side of the office during the Nationals, I feel like everybody's calves get like super toned and defined from all. I mean, you'll be out weed eating High Point here. So, so it's crazy the mileage you guys put in this time of year.
Yeah. So tell everyone about what Impact Media is.
Yeah. So Impact Media is my company. We're a digital marketing shop, and we're just down the road from you guys. It's a company that we help brands increase attention online and turn that attention into revenue with targeted advertising. We started working in the moto space about 5 years ago. Known you and Tim since I was a kid, and I said, look, give us a shot, because that's my passion, right? I want to be able to work with clients that I'm passionate about. And since then, we've done a lot of work with you guys on the RacerX side, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, but essentially we help people get real results with their digital marketing to where if you have a product, you want to sell more of it, that's why people come to us.
Mm-hmm. And as we all know, the world's a different place now.
Absolutely.
Once upon a time, you put your shingle out, so to speak, and let people know that you're in business. But now, as a magazine, we don't just have the printed material that we have to mine. We have social media, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have all these different bases that we have to touch, and sometimes in sort of the confusion of that cacophony or whatever you would call it, that menagerie of messages, you can waste a lot of time chasing likes, or you can waste a lot of time adding hashtags, and you can waste a lot of time doing things that are very, very difficult to monetize.
Yeah, I think it's everybody that is in business, it's on social media, wants to grow revenue, right? But they don't know how to do it, so they ask the wrong questions. How do I grow my following? How do I get more comments and likes and views? And the question is, you should be asking, how do you turn that person that's engaging with your post into a customer? Mm-hmm. A big following doesn't necessarily mean more sales. So it's a matter of, as social media changes, understanding the steps to take somebody from a like to a customer, from a stranger to a fan, to a lifetime customer, to a ticket holder to your event, whatever it may be. And it doesn't necessarily all fall within hashtags and how long should my video be and how many times a day should I post. It's a matter of what to say, when to say it, how do you grow your brand equity, how do you turn those people into traffic to your site, and then how do you turn that traffic into a customer. And I think one of the cool things about this podcast is it's not just myself and my co-host is my chief marketing officer, George, which strangely enough is your next door neighbor. He's my co-host, but it's not just us teaching how do you use these tools. We're interviewing some iconic names, iconic brands, and they're telling how they grew from nothing to where they are. Or in some cases, we have some folks that are coming on, their comeback story. How did they go from a name that was really nothing to the biggest brands in the sport that we know and love today? So you get to hear it from more than just myself and my co-host.
Yeah. Now let's start with racers, athletes. Tell me which rider that you followed that you think is really doing it right in being able to communicate with his fans, keep them, interested, and not overdoing it.
Yeah. So there are a couple people that come to mind. Strangely enough, the Deegan family, which used to just be Hayden, but now everybody, Haley Deegan, Hudson, Brian. I mean, they have. What's funny is if you watch Brian's videos, people are coming up to him and they know him as the YouTube celebrity, not the X Games athlete or the Supercross winner. I think Hayden specifically is the one that is doing it right, and he's going to change the game for everybody because his value. I think he's going to be a great racer, but he could be a mediocre racer. And if he continues to grow what he's growing now, he's going to be one of the most valuable people, in my opinion, in the sport because he's getting so much attention on that orange bike. He's getting so much attention on the gear, on the merchandise that he's whatever it is because of his following. Athlete, current pro right now that I think is doing the best job of it's Dean Wilson. I mean, he was one of the most relevant people in the off season because of what he was doing on social media, and it's really, I mean, these guys and folks have the most interesting lives. It's a matter of sharing more of that and understanding how if you tell that story to somebody that doesn't always have that access, how it gets more attention on you and how much more valuable that makes you to the sponsors that have their logo on your jersey.
Yeah, as far as Danger Boy goes, I can tell you anecdotally, my niece Calla, who is 6, loves Danger Boy. Yeah, and when she saw him at Loretta Lynn's last year, he was kind enough to stop and take a photo. So I think that the Deegans get awesome. It. They get it on every level, and they're good at what they do.
Right.
I also think that to continue at this pace, to have a photographer with you all the time, helps. But what if you don't?
Yeah, what if you? So you do at some capacity. You always have that phone in your pocket. And now most of the individuals rolling around today, you've got a 4K camera in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So everybody does have a photographer with them. Sometimes it's just yourself. So you have to understand how do I shoot a video? How do I document my day at this amateur race that might be interesting to somebody watching? Or how do I document my day if I'm a pro, of testing and my annoyance and my struggle with how the day went or my excitement or whatever it is. So, but for those that can afford to have, a photographer or somebody following them around like the Deegan family.
Or Ken Block,
it's understanding that, I mean, we do it at my company. We have we have sometimes it's an intern, sometimes it's a full-time position, but we create media internally because if you don't know what we do and you don't know the people doing it for you, I look the same as everybody else. So it's a matter of you've got your channel. You are, CNN, NBC, MTV, like you have access to being the media that everybody consumes. It's what's the content going to be that you put out. And if you're in moto, you live an extremely interesting life compared to 99.9% of everybody else. It's documenting it. Sometimes it has to be you with that iPhone.
Yeah. Now I know that one of the guests you're going to have coming up on the Moto Marketing Podcast is our mutual friend Brett Smith of We Went Fast. And I think Brett's got a fascinating story because he had a long career in TV. He's one of the top journalists in the sports now, in our sport. His Austin Stroop story from last year, or the Ricky Carmichael Oakley poster, are just wonderful work. But online, he's building a brand called We Went Fast. What was your conversation with Brett like?
Yeah, it was interesting because he talked about how that whole thing started as a suggestion from you and Brian Staley of, hey, you should post this on Instagram. And then I think that's when the switch flipped for him and realized that this Instagram is my media channel right now. Let me grow my following from there. I didn't realize it started like that. And the other thing you talked about was he was at a race. It might have been Loretta's, but he was giving out some We Went Fast merchandise, and he handed something to Brian Deegan. And Brian, who knew Brett, was like, "This is you. This We Went Fast is you." He had no idea. So you don't understand the power of who sees your content. They might not always like, they might not always comment, they might not always share it, but people are seeing it, and he's built this brand from that. The other thing is quality. People are so worried about how many times a day do I need to post. Less is more, especially today. I used to post several times a day. Now, if I don't have anything valuable to put out, I'm not going to put it out. And that's how Brett really operates. Less is more, making sure that the people that do see it are seeing something super quality, super valuable.
Yeah, it's funny. I was in the pits at Hangtown. It was raining, and I had a We Went Fast hat on. And Jimmy Perry from Yamaha came walking by with Dean Ferris, who had just arrived from Australia. And we're standing there talking, and Dean looks at me and goes, "I really like your hat." And I was like, "Oh, do you follow We Went Fast?" He had no idea what it was, but he's following it now.
Yeah. It's. I think a lot of it too is if it's a catchy name and it resonates with people. I mean, that's, I don't know if he lucked into that, but it works for him for sure.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question, and this is I wonder about this because I've always been challenged by it. On Instagram, is it better to put a hashtag and put a bunch of things like hashtag motocross, hashtag supercross, or if you have a photo of, like this is going to happen, Ricky Carmichael with his arm around Steve Mathis, are you better off putting like hashtag besties and leaving it at that?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it's such a hard one to answer because it's different for every scenario. For that question, the better option would be to put hashtag besties and leave it at that, because that hashtag's not going to help him get discovered. But what it's going to be is it's going to be so funny that it's going to have some type of virality effect. People are going to share it. The whole hashtag culture on Instagram is super misunderstood because it's changed over time. Used to, you would want to put 30 hashtags in your post because that's more opportunity for people to find you. Now, it looks super corny. It's really spammy. Using quality hashtags. So, for example, we were talking about I was at one of the e-bike races. I would use a couple of quality hashtags, Specialized Levo, EMTB, GNCC, something that's relevant, and that's going to help me get some quality views. It does me zero good to use a hashtag that 1 million people are following, because a lot of those people are going to be fake accounts, not valuable. So, it's just a matter of less is more once again with the hashtags. Just make sure they're quality.
Well, I'm glad you told me that because I have an 11-year-old daughter. Sloan is an actress, as you know, part-time actress. And her agency told her recently that she needed to grow her social media following, which, I don't know that that's great advice for an 11-year-old. But so Sloan went a little over the top with it and posted a photo of herself recently. And these were the hashtags that she put.
Okay.
Hashtag model, hashtag actress, hashtag LA, hashtag Cali, hashtag WV, hashtag movies, hashtag TV, hashtag actor, hashtag last witch hunter, hashtag CSI, hashtag agent, hashtag manager, and it just goes on and on. I think there's like 56 hashtags and a grand total of 24 likes.
Yeah, so there's proof that but if she would have picked a few of the right hashtags and maybe tagged her photo in the right location, she would have gotten triple the engagement that she got. And again, it's making sure that you're posting valuable quality content. So making sure that photo that you're posting is composed the right way. It's interesting. It's showing something that's going to be appealing. There's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of bad content being produced and written, but the content at Racer X, there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. It's quality content that gets put out, which it's helped you guys get to where you are. It's the same thing on Instagram. You can't just throw something up for the sake of throwing it up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then the hashtags are those one or two things that put you in the inner circles that you want to be in. So again, if she's wanting to do something with acting, finding the most popular hashtags around, preteen actresses or whatever it may be, and using 2 or 3 of those to get discovered, and then clicking on those hashtags and seeing who else is posting, and then engaging with those people so that they start to see her name and start to interact with her that way.
Mm-hmm. So switching gears, what about Facebook? Is that still relevant?
Yeah, for sure. So Facebook and Instagram are the 2 most relevant platforms that kind of cover the largest audience, right? You've got Snapchat, you've got YouTube, you've got Twitter, kind of LinkedIn, but the two biggest ones are definitely Facebook and Instagram. It's a matter of who you're marketing to, what demo they are, what audience you're going after, but definitely those are the 2 main ones. For an example, when we're doing what we do for the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross series, the 2 platforms we use the most, Facebook and Instagram. The third one would be YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And with YouTube, you get into the content thing,
right?
Which is easy for us because we work with NBC and whatnot. But for an athlete, or let's say a bike shop,
sure.
What I think some of the things that you and I have discussed before is how to take a small budget or take a small time investment and place it wisely to target it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a matter of the boost post is one of the worst things somebody could do, and that's on Facebook, because all that's going to do is essentially pump it up to more people, but more people doesn't mean the right people. So it's a matter of if you're a shop and your demo, and for example around here it's a lot of oil and gas workers. They love the side-by-sides, things like that. Well, if that's who you're selling your product to, let's target those folks. If you're a Harley dealership and you're selling to a lot of doctors and lawyers, well, let's make sure that that's who you're targeting and you're driving that message to them, not just everybody that thinks that brand's sexy, because that doesn't mean they're your customer. So it's a way of making your dollar go a lot further. Who's that ideal customer for your brand, and making sure you're reaching those folks.
What about Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter is, so interestingly enough, they reclassified, they're not even a social media network. They classify themselves as a news resource now. So Twitter, I think, is a lot of fun for certain people, and it's super ideal for an outlet like Racer X, because you're a news resource. If I want to get minute-to-minute updates of practice and an injury update, whatever, Twitter's where I'm going to do it. But if I'm trying to promote my business, I'm going to post something on Twitter, and the lifespan of that tweet is less than 12 minutes, meaning there's going to be so much other stuff that's posted, nobody's going to find that in 12 minutes. So it's there are ads you can run, you can post, but it doesn't mean it's the most valuable place to post unless you already have a following, right? A lot of brands in the sport do. Racer X does. You guys should use it, but if you're somebody that you got 1,400 followers on Instagram or Twitter, or no followers, and you're trying to start it, that's, you've missed the boat on that. It's not worth your effort to try and build a following now on that platform.
What do you think's next?
Man, it's a good question. As far as new platforms that nobody's heard of, nothing right now. I mean, it's been the 3 or 4 big ones for a long time. I think what's next is what media is going to stand out the most on those platforms. So Facebook, what does the best is live video. It's turning into really almost a YouTube competitor. I mean, I can watch shows on Facebook. Live video does better than anything else. Instagram, it's short content that's not going to be there tomorrow, right? It's the Instagram stories. It's the stuff that is getting my attention, because I know if I don't watch Davey's Instagram story of his vacation or the latest sign, whatever it is, if it's on Instagram stories, it's not going to be there tomorrow. So it's understanding how to document your day to day in a way that's going to get my attention, and then doing it again tomorrow and the next day. So it's a matter of what content is going to be relevant next. I think audio is going to start to have a place. Alexa voice. We have clients now that are already wanting to be, the weather update. If I say, Alexa, what's the weather? It being sponsored by, Factory Effects or whatever it might be. I think that's something that, is soon to come.
Right. I think that, when you think about the amount of work that goes into posting something, and I know that might not seem like a big thing, but if you stop in the middle of your day and take the time to get a photo or make a video and then post it in the right place, you need to make sure that it's efficient.
Right.
If you're let's say a motorcycle dealership, and the most important thing to you is getting customers in the door. That call to arms needs to be something compelling.
Right.
It needs to be something that's worthwhile to that person, and it's got to be something that's easy for them to understand.
Sure.
It's like the less is more,
right.
but you got to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has to be something that looks different than everything else that I'm seeing. So if you're a dealership, I need to look at the guys and gals on the floor selling those bikes and other, power sport products. I need to look at them as the experts, not just the guy trying to sell me, right? Tell me your favorite thing about it. Show me all the bells and whistles. Make me look at you as without a doubt, the expert and leader in knowing that product, because and somebody that actually does it. There's so many dealerships that I go to, they sell dirt bikes, and I'm like, man, did you watch the race last weekend? Nah. Like, they're not interested in it. Well, I'm buying a toy. I'm buying something that I'm passionate about, and you don't even know who Cooper Webb is or Ken Rock. Like, that is disappointing to me, to where you've got to be, your guys and gals on that floor need to be part of the sport, and they need to promote it and show it, right? Because that's a lifestyle for a lot of people, and if it's just a business for the people selling it, and it comes across that way on social media or in person, that can cost a dealership a sale. Yeah.
Now you mentioned, it reminds me of a good person I think that might be a good future guest.
Yeah.
Jeff Cernick. He's the king of Facebook Live. And
I would love to have Jeff
Pleasure
on.
Valley and Cernick Racing and all the things.
I think Jeff's a good example of it too, because he understands the importance of it. He might not necessarily know how to use it, but he's told me, I understand it's important. I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I know it's important, and he's been a relevant name for a very long time, so he's doing something right.
He is because I don't watch a lot of things, but I watch Jeff all the time.
Exactly.
Tell me about a couple of the other guests you have planned, or even maybe a dream guest you'd like to get with.
Yeah, so I'd love to tell the story of fly racing and how they went from really kind of the laughing stock of gear to now in BMX and Moto. They are the company. I was and I think they're going to be a guest in the near future, but I was at a BMX race not long ago, and I was just for fun, I just sat there and kind of counted how many people walked by me and what gear they were wearing, and for every 15 or 20 people there might have been one person wearing something other than fly. It wasn't like that 10 years ago. So I think they'd be a good one. We're going to be talking to American Flat Track about how's that series made such a massive comeback in that sport. Really excited for Brett's episode to come out. I think AJ Catanzaro is going to be coming on. He's another great example of somebody that's doing social media right. You'd asked that at the beginning. He is the reason he's so valuable. Yes, he makes the mains. He's a great rider. But if he didn't have his social media following, I don't think he would have been able to get to the races this year.
Yeah, and not only that, he has his training academies,
exactly.
Motocross schools. So not only does he have a brand to sell in himself, but he's got a product to sell.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something key, especially for riders. What's your product? If it's not just you and the value you bring to getting exposure on your sponsors, AJ's got his product. It's his brand and his schools, but everybody has a product, right? Cooper Webb's product is more than just how fast he goes on the track. It's how I want to move. I want to go buy this product because Cooper puts it on his back. He is a brand. He is a product, and I think a lot of racers need to start looking at themselves that way.
Yeah, what I like about Cooper is he's such a straight shooter. Just a couple days after he clinched the Supercross title, he posted a photo of him doing outdoor testing, and beneath it he wrote, "Reality sets in quick."
Yeah. I think the sport, it needs that from the riders, to where sharing, like, we know that it's, things are happening, but you don't get it from a lot of riders. So the ones that you do get it from, the Australian guy that I'm blanking out on his name,
Hunter
Lawrence. that's my favorite thing about him, and that's why Mathis and all these guys are loving him, because he's going to tell you how it is and how he feels, and if he's mad, excited, upset, and it's a breath of fresh air, and you don't get that from a lot of people. So he is going to do very well. Cooper is going to do very well off the track as well, if they understand how big of a deal that is.
Right on. Well, Luke, I really look forward to hearing more when you do the Moto Marketing Podcast, and welcome to the RacerX family of podcasts.
We're excited.
The RacerX Network, and if you can manage to get Mathis and RC on at the same time, we'll move you up to the top of the page.
Yeah, that can be a project, because I'd love to see that. I think Daniel Blair is working on it as well. But Davey, I appreciate it. We're looking forward to this.
All right, that's Luke Nessler with Impact Media, and stay tuned for more episodes of the Moto Marketing Podcast right here on RacerX Online.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impact Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.